child's wish to grow big goes wrong. Welcome to our channel. In today's video, we'll be going through an American comedy and fantasy movie from the year 1988 titled Big. Spoilers ahead, watch out and take care. The movie starts with a scene where a young boy is playing video games on his computer. His name is Josh Baskin, a 13-year-old boy who lives with his parents in the suburbs. As he's playing the games, his parents starts yelling at him to take the garbage out of the trash can. Josh asks his parents to give him a minute or so, but with the constant yelling, we see the boy gets distracted and loses the game he's playing. He's fed up with his parents telling him what to do every day, right from taking out the garbage to sharing his room with his baby sister. His anger with being a youngster reaches a peak one night when he is denied access to a carnival ride because he isn't tall enough. Josh is humiliated in front of the girl he likes, and he goes away depressed. He comes upon an antiquated arcade fortune teller machine named Zoltar, and after seeing that it claims to fulfill wishes, he puts a coin and wishes to be huge. Despite the machine being disconnected, the Zoltar machine issues a card stating that his desire has been granted. Josh looks at the disconnected cord as he gets scared and starting running away from the machine. As he reaches his home, he goes to bed. Later that night, we see thunder and lightning, which is mostly related to what happened earlier with the Zoltar machine. The next morning, Josh wakes up casually and goes to the washroom to brush his teeth. But when he sees himself in the mirror, he couldn't believe the sight he just encountered. Josh's wish with the Zoltar machine is accomplished, and he is now a fully grown adult. Josh starts panicking as his mom starts yelling at him for breakfast. With no idea in mind as to what to do, he goes back to the carnival locations to find the same Zoltar machine that granted his wish. But when he reaches there, he discovers that it has moved on, leaving just an empty field. So he comes back home to inform his mother of the incident. But since he's all grown up, his mom doesn't believe that it's her son. She starts panicking even though Josh tries to convince her about what exactly happened. He starts telling her about his school grades and the name of his basketball team and so on, but he still fails to convince her. Being scared and paranoid, his mom takes a knife and starts chasing him, accusing him of kidnapping her son as Josh runs away from home. He starts running towards the basketball practice session where his closest buddy Billy is playing. There, Josh tries to convince his friend about the whole scenario, but even Billy starts screaming in fear. Finally, Josh sings a rap that only they both knew to persuade him that he's truly Josh. Billy is finally convinced that the 30-year-old man is actually Josh, and Josh finally got someone to believe in his bizarre story. Meanwhile, at his home, Josh's mom and dad are reporting the whole scenario to the police. His mom starts crying as she starts explaining that the man tried to harass her by showing his high knee. On the other hand, Billy gets a backpack and filled with clothes for Josh, along with some cash that he stole from his dad's sock drawer, which he claims to be an emergency fund. Then they board a bus to New York City, where they attempt to locate the Zoltar machine in order to restore Josh's age. As they reach New York City, Josh hires a room in a cheap hotel to stay in until he finds the Zoltar machine. Billy says that he'd have to go back home and that he would skip school the next day and come back to New York to help his buddy to find the machine that can fix everything back to normal. However, on his first night at the hotel, Josh cries himself to sleep, overwhelmed by his new experience. The next day, Josh and Billy starts their search hunt for the Zoltar machine. They both visit a few arcade game shops, but nowhere can they find the Zoltar machine they were looking for. Finally, at one particular shop, a guy tells them that the Zoltar machine has to be licensed in order to access it. So they both start walking toward the licensing bureau. There they learn that they will need to submit an application in order to obtain a list of local carnivals. The application's process would take 1 month and they would get the machine in 6 weeks. Josh is perplexed and asks the lady at the counter again, and she says that there are chances that it might take more than 6 weeks, but if he's lucky enough, he'd get it in time. To survive the next weeks in New York City, Billy suggests that Josh could take a job. After a long list of searchers to help pay for his expenditures, Josh finds a job as a data entry clerk at the Macmillan toy business. Josh runs across Mr. Macmillan, the company's owner, one day while playing in a toy store. Josh amazes Mr. Macmillan with his knowledge of toys by being able to grasp how a child thinks because he is still one. Josh charms him over with his childish innocence during a duet on a wandering piano. Josh is then invited to participate in the marketing presentations where he may offer his thoughts on the company's new toy line. He offers some constructive criticisms on their new toys, suggesting that children would not like them. His suggestions are warmly received by the team, but Paul, the existing marketing campaign owner, is not pleased. Josh is promoted to Vice President of Product Development by Macmillan, where he is paid to test toys and provide feedback. Josh is able to move out of the motel and into his own apartment thanks to his raise in pay. He transforms it into his fantasy home, complete with toys, a pinball machine, a large trampoline, and a quarter-free vending machine. Josh captures the attention of Susan, a Macmillan Toys co-worker who also happens to be Paul's girlfriend, at the company's annual dinner. Susan is drawn to Josh's kind demeanor and naive character, and they quickly start a love relationship. She ends her relationship with Paul, causing him to become even more hostile to Josh. Josh is given additional job duties over time and is given the task of developing a new toy line. Josh is gradually drawn into adult life and quickly forgets what it was like to be a child, leaving behind his childhood dream house thanks to his relationship commitment with Susan. Due to his hectic schedule, Josh is unable to spend time with Billy. Billy then obtains the carnival schedule and locates a Zoltar machine, but Josh looks disinterested in reverting to a boy. Meanwhile, Josh is overwhelmed by the responsibility of developing a new product line at work. Susan offers to assist him with the business parts of the project while he concentrates on the concept. In the middle of the stress, Josh begins to regret his previous life and become nostalgic when he observes a group of children playing in a pile of leaves and a junior high school picture shoot. Susan doesn't believe him when he tells her he is a child who wants to return home, and she chalks it up to her fear of committing to a relationship. Susan opens Josh's wallet in the middle of the night and discovers the Zoltar card that his wish has been realized. She is shocked by the whole story of Josh, but for the time being, she remains mute. She puts Josh to the test the next morning at a newsstand by asking him to purchase her some bubblegum. Josh goes ahead and buys a piece of kid's bubblegum and gives it to her, leading her to believe he's speaking the truth. Josh abruptly quits in the middle of their presentations to Macmillan and the marketing team for the new product line. Susan follows him after learning of his whereabouts from Billy and orders a cab to the Zoltar machine's location. Josh expresses his desire to be a child once more. When Susan sees the contraption, she realizes Josh was telling the truth about his childhood. Josh claims that his only motive for remaining an adult is his love for Susan, yet he eventually returns to his youth. Susan declines his invitations to make the same wish he made and join her, stating that she does not want to repeat her youth. Susan then takes Josh to his house, playfully telling him to save her phone number. Josh tells her that he would never forget her after their heartfelt departure. The movie ends as Josh refers to his 13-year-old personality, walks toward his house, and we hear his mother sob with delight as she sees her son back to normal, a 13-year-old kiddo.